What's up, guys? Laura Sanko here, and this is not Dean Thomas. This is Adam Catterall. And I've often wondered how are Americans supposed to pronounce your last name?
I think you nailed it.
Isn't it Catterall?
Yes. Yes.
Catterall?
Yes, but I like the way that you did it.
Catterall. Catterall.
That's very, very regal.
It's
you
very
made me sound far more important than I actually am. I like it.
No, you automatically sound important with that accent. It's nice to have you on this side of the pond.
Yes.
Obviously, we're part of the same channel. We don't always get to sit down in one-on-one, if you will.
Nice.
Thank you. So, figured while you were here, we could pick each other's brains a little bit about UFC 317, as you would say, 317, as I would say.
Yes, this is a real treat.
Yeah,
because like you said, we're always across Zooms and we're always across other ends of the world. So it's nice to be in person around the biggest fight week of the year so far. There might be bigger ones to come, but I think this right now is the signature on the UFC calendar. It
feels appropriate for International Fight Week, right? You have to lead with a big fight at the top of the marquee, and maybe it's not quite the one that some of us were really, really jonesing for. Mm-hmm. Jonesing.
I saw that.
That's a whole other topic. Jonesing is
You're
a whole
on fire today with little puns. I like that.
I'm not even meaning to. But any fight with Ilia Topuria and an opponent as credentialed and as game as Charles Oliveira is the right fight to put at the top of a card like this. I guess off the top, what do you make of this move up to lightweight for Ilia, and what are some of the potentialities that you see for him in this division? I guess starting off with this matchup, of course.
We need superstars, Laura.
We do.
That's what we need.
Do we ever?
And I love the guy's attitude.
Yeah.
I remember speaking to him just before he fought Max, and even then, he was saying, by the time I'm 30 years of age, I'm going to be a three-weight world champion. And he was saying it with such conviction that you actually believed that it was already a thing.
Yeah.
And I love that. I remember being around Conor when he jumped onto the scene, and it was 2014, 2015, and everybody was like going, who's this cocky little guy? But he was saying the things that really captured the imagination of that casual audience. Now, okay, it was a little bit easier because he had the Irish charm and all that type of thing. But I'm seeing a lot of similarities. Personality-wise, not necessarily fight style, but personality-wise, I'm seeing a lot of similar things with what Ilia is doing. In Spain, he's absolutely massive. This week, if he pulls it off, I think he'll gain a massive following here in America, and it's just bubbling nicely. And if he pulls off becoming a three-weight world champion by the time he's 30, I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous.
It is absolutely ridiculous. That would be a type of history that would be very difficult, if not impossible, to replicate. And while I think a lot of us really were jonesing for the Islam Makhachev fight, I gotta find a new word. We were really wanting the Islam Makhachev fight. I do think that this fight with Charles Oliveira has some really interesting stylistic nuances to it, and I think personally some real challenges for Ilia in this fight. Okay. When I looked at the odds before Dean and I did our preview, I was aghast at what they were. I have not looked at them today. Maybe you know more than I do, but when I looked, Ilia was like minus 410 as a favorite. It was a huge difference between the two, and frankly, I think. I don't bet, but like if I was a bettor, I would see a lot of value on Charles in that situation.
I think the odds makers are massively out on this, because back in the UK before I came, I was looking at different methods of victory for Charles, and to win via some type of finish was 4-1, which is a plus 400, I think, for you guys. That's ridiculous.
Yes.
A guy with the most amount of submissions in the UFC to be like that in a fight in a weight division that's his weight division. That's crazy.
Who's also an incredibly dangerous striker as well. Maybe he's not the knockout artist that Ilia is, but the variety of his weaponry, that it doesn't take being, one punch knocked out. It takes a knee that drops you, that gets you to the mat where he can sub you up like that. I mean, I think that the danger factor that Charles Oliveira possesses, and yes, he can be a bit reckless. Is he dumb enough to be reckless against Ilia Topuria? I don't know. He looked a little bit more strategic against Michael Chandler.
Yes. Is it dumb though, what he does? Because I think it's calculated chaos. I think he needs to be that chaotic in order to create those opportunities.
That is the argument I've been having in my own head all week, because you'll often hear me say on commentary, you need to bully the bully. Who has bullied Ilia Topuria? Nobody. No one has been able to get in it, and there are short bursts where they have. Bryce Mitchell was actually getting pretty chippy with him at times. And Bryce Mitchell, if you'll remember, landed a few very thudding shots on Ilia Topuria. Bryce Mitchell also made him look a little uncomfortable off of his back. Now, granted, he ended up getting thrashed in that fight.
Yeah.
But I think if you focus only on the finishes of Ilia Topuria, it is easy to look at him as just perfection. If you watch him hit pads, it's easy to look at him as perfection. And that's what you have to do with an undefeated, right? You got to pick the moments where you go, oh, maybe that's a path, maybe that's a path.
I mean, if you remember when he did actually step up to 155 previously against Jai Herbert in London,
the head kick.
He got dropped in the first round. Yeah. Okay, he recovered, and he knocked Jai out in the second round.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is no disrespect to Jai because he's a fantastic fighter. But if Charles gets Ilia into that scenario,
100%.
What a finisher Charles is. And would you back him to obviously complete the situation there if he does get him hurt?
100%. And not only that, I was reminding myself of some of Charles' more recent finishes. If you remember when he finished Beneil Dariush, the beginning of that finish was a head kick to the left side in very close quarters in boxing range. Now, obviously the biggest question is who's going to control the range and fight their version of the fight more. That's really what most fights come down to.
Yeah. Ilia's brilliant at that.
He is incredible at that.
It's going to be so interesting the way that Charles approaches this fight because he goes forward. He goes forward, and if he's going for, Ilia wants him to go forward.
Yeah.
So does he do something different? Does he kick away the legs and go backwards? You know?
He could.
I don't think he will. I think it's Charles.
Yeah.
Because he needs to fight his way, which has been so successful at 155.
I think for Charles, a way to go forward with him is to stay in the center channel. He's got to use teeps, jabs, and not like the moment that you start hooking things, even your kicks, if you start throwing kicks the proper way, that's the moment that Ilia is going to expose you. But if you can keep everything straight down the pipe, the knees, the teeps, the front kicks, the jabs, and stay super, super long, I do think he can probably frustrate Ilia for periods of time. It's a matter of how long can he keep that up. And I don't know. I often get accused of like not getting how great Ilia Topuria is because I like to build the counter argument because that to me is the more interesting argument. Yeah.
That's our job.
The easy thing would be to say, he's going to go out there and knock him out. That's obviously a very, very real possibility. And you're a boxing guy as well. I'm less so of like, I don't necessarily overlap in both of those worlds. In your opinion, does Ilia Topuria have some of, if not the best, pure boxing in the UFC?
Yes. Yeah. And it all comes down to his feet. His feet are so beautifully placed.
Yeah.
The way that he controls the geography. You were talking a moment or two ago about range control. He's a master at that.
Yeah.
And if you look at the finish of Volk, the finish of Max, both controlled the geography of the fight. He backs people up into the corners of the octagon so they can't get out. He switches off the center and he lets the shots go. And it's just a joy to watch.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at that stat that in 8 fights in the UFC, he hasn't even thrown any kicks to the body or the head.
Yeah, all calf kicks.
Not one in 8 fights.
His calf kicks can be pretty devastating.
Yeah.
But I don't know the way that Charles stands. Charles does a really good job of being light on his lead leg.
Yeah.
It makes moving backward a little bit trickier, which could get him in trouble with a big, overhand getting chucked his direction. It's footwork to me. I mean, this is where I could get really nerdy. Footwork to me is everything for every fighter. And the ones who figure that out are the ones who really go on to succeed. And
they're the ones that are beautiful to watch as well.
Oh my gosh. But the footwork is what gives you the balance, and the balance is what gives you the power. And
he's never off balance.
Never off balance. Never overswings. And because he never overswings on his first or second shot, he can have a third and a fourth and a fifth shot immediately in combination. When you package all that up, he is one of one, in my opinion. It sounds like yours as well.
Yeah, 100%. But the beautiful counter argument to this is, what does he do in the moment of the finish? That's when Charles Oliveira is at his most dangerous.
Yeah.
At that particular moment, where you think, right, he's gone, and then all of a sudden he's not gone. It's that moment that I'll be most interested in, to see what Ilia does in that moment. Is he all in? Does he go pedal to the metal? Or is he a little bit more calculated? Just because he's wary of what Charles can do?
You have to be. You have to be, because I think those odds that we talked about a moment ago are partly because people have all this imagery of Charles getting dropped and Charles getting cracked and, folding, whatever. he often goes on to win those fights as well. So I think maybe 3 of his most recent wins, he got knocked down, but went on to win. So you certainly can't. I believe in the power of Ilia Topuria, and I believe Ilia when he says, if I touch him, he's not going to get back up. But
he might get touched first.
He might get touched first. He might get kneed. He might. That's what makes this fight so exciting.
And the beautiful thing is, one thing that we're absolutely guaranteed: we're going to get history. Either way on Saturday night, we're either going to get a guy that is on the march to multi-weight status in Ilia, or we're going to get a guy that becomes the first ever lightweight 2-time champion.
Yeah.
That's not happened before, so...
You make a great point. That I hadn't thought about that. That's a really good point too.
It's a historic fight. Yeah. It is, absolutely it is. And I think the styles work, the fans are in for a real treat. And at the end of it, I think... The beautiful thing for me as well is that because we've now got clarity in the heavyweight division and we kind of know what's going on, the story arcs in the press conference afterwards are going to be about these two, or the victor of it, or the fight, or whatever it may be. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because going back to what we said right at the start, we need superstars. We need those people now coming through that carry the sport to the casual audience, that help the sport grow. Because it feels like maybe the superstars have just diluted a touch recently. Don't get me wrong, we're getting great fights, but the superstar status has just diluted a touch, and we need someone to rise on Saturday night.
Crazy thought.
Go on.
And I'm normally not the person that would trot this one out, because I tend to take...
Must be my influence.
I tend to take the other side of the argument, but I think I don't hate the idea of him if Ilia wins, immediately going to welterweight and fighting Islam possibly.
This comes to our conversation of history.
Yeah.
We need superstars. We need those narratives. That conversation will absolutely grab the imagination of people. If it's... I mean, you can bend it whichever way you want to bend it. Islam ran up to 170. He's chasing him down. What the heck's this guy doing? I think that story is absolutely fantastic. Listen, from a British point of view, there's one other fight. I would love him to get on the microphone and call out Paddy. It's probably not going to happen, but I would love him to do that, because I think that fight with their fan bases and the history that these two guys have would be awesome. But I think you're 100% right. If he pulls this off on Saturday night, go straight to 170.
I think go straight to 170 and then fight Paddy.
Yeah.
Because I think if you give Paddy another fight and he gets in a Gaethje
or a Sarukian or something.
Exactly. And if Paddy gets past, I think the last win was massive. But again, it's like people are always wanting, it's like what they did for Sean O'Malley. They're always wanting to look for an asterisk to be inserted into the conversation. And the feeling was that Michael Chandler was not, peak form.
Yeah.
If he gets past a Gaethje or a Sarukian, or who else would be a...
I would say that...
What about Charles? If Charles... because we're going off of the assumption that Charles doesn't get past...
Charles Oliveira and Paddy Pimblett?
Yes.
Come on. Look at
I
you
think that might be my
here.
favorite one yet. But there's a lot of interesting opportunities there. But if you get Paddy... Imagine if Paddy were to get a win over Charles Oliveira.
Wow.
How big that would make the fight with Ilia. Then you go to a stadium. Then you go to Spain. You do it in prime time. You make the man happy.
Love it. What else is jumping off the card for you this weekend?
Well, I know not maybe for everybody, but I love the co-main. I think the co-main is a fantastic fight.
Pantoja's a superstar.
Pantoja is one of the most, if not the most underrated champion ever.
The fact that he's number 10 in the pound for pound list, I think is ridiculous.
It is.
He should be a lot further up that list.
We're actually having this discussion on the weigh-in show on Friday, and the argument is hilarious to me, because the only reason he's not higher on that list is because he's a flyweight, and the whole point of that freaking list is that you don't do that.
Yep.
It's the whole point of the pound for pound list is that we don't take size.
Yeah, he's small.
He's small. He's not as good. I mean, that's literally what you're seeing when you read that list.
Yeah. And he's running through everybody. He's done the number
twice.
He's done everybody twice.
Yeah.
He's lapping the division. He's already fought Kai in the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah. It was a long time ago.
Yes, it was.
It feels fresh enough
of
a matchup. And Kai coming off that sensational knockout.
Yeah.
A lot of momentum there.
But we are running out of people for him.
I know. Josh Van feels like he could be the hero that...
Yes. I think you've nailed it there. You need, and I love Brandon Royval, but can you sell Brandon Royval Part 3 with Pantoja if Pantoja is successful on Saturday night? I don't think you can.
Yeah.
So you need, especially coming off 316
Yes.
to now 317.
This kid's crazy.
Come on,
and I
man.
don't feel like enough people are talking about it. He
Awesome.
literally just fought.
Yeah.
Just got an insane finish.
Yeah.
And now he's back to back. I think he's fought 4 times
Yeah.
in the last
Yeah,
12 months,
Yeah, yeah.
if I'm remembering right. Just came in here and just dusting everybody up. The flyweight division, it's too bad they don't have like 2 or 3 more Josh Vance, honestly, but we've got one and we should be thankful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Peyton Talbot Felipe Lima fight. I think that is. I was talking to somebody about what would happen if a young boxing prospect was doing so well and then had a bump in the road and lost the fight, i.e. Peyton Talbot last time
Yeah.
out. They would probably get 2 or 3 layup fights, get your confidence back, and we'll bring you back in. Not here at the UFC.
No, they're like, oh, you struggle with grappling?
Yeah.
Let's give you one of the best. Let's give you one of the best up and coming grapplers. And see if you really do fix it.
Who's same age as you,
Yeah.
got the same dreams and aspirations as you.
On fire.
Go on, boys.
Yeah.
Get at it. I think it's an absolutely fantastic fight. We're going to find out a lot about Peyton, where his head's at, and whether he does have the chops to mix it at the very top level, because Felipe is, he lost his debut, but 14 on the spin. He's a sensational fighter.
He is a sensational fighter, and I do think that this is going to be not make or break. It's way too early in either of their career to truly call it a make or break, but for Peyton Talbot to recapture the momentum, and if he can go out there and look like he can handle the grappling in particular, it's almost like getting a knockout would be fantastic, but it's almost like he needs to go out there, have some really good grappling moments as well, and then get a knockout, and then, okay, we're good. We can put the Barcelos mess up, in the closet.
I agree.
Yeah.
A lot easier said than done, though. With Felipe
Yeah,
Lima,
no, for
isn't it?
sure. Anything else jumping off the card for you?
I love Money Moicano every time he fights. I think that's a really tough crossroads fight for both guys. I think it's a must-not-lose fight.
Yeah.
Because Beneil was the guy. He's had 2 losses. He's been away for a long time. This was supposed to be January, so he's obviously going to be annoyed. He needs to win this fight. If he doesn't, then I think he can kiss goodbye talking about challenging for the title.
Yeah.
And same for Moicano, because, we've got the Benoit Saint Denis victory, and I know it's a last-minute jump in against Makhachev, who's the best guy on the planet. But because where Beneil's at in his tenure right now, if you're losing that type of fight, then can you really be talking about being in the top 5? I don't think you can. So I think it's a must-not-lose for both those guys. There's a lot on it.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great main card. It's a great main event more than anything. Great co-main event. It's a big week for all of us. Big week for you, big week for me. Both of us very busy, so I appreciate you
Appreciate you, my dear.
Yes,
Brilliant.
absolutely. Guys, more videos on this channel to check out. As always, please click like, click subscribe. It feeds Adam. It feeds me. We appreciate you so much. We'll see you next time.